Bonsoir, good evening, Kwe. Merci à tous d'être avec nous ce soir pour cette conférence de Noelia Monteiro. Mon nom est Émilie Retailleau, je suis conservatrice des programmes publics au Centre canadien d'architecture, donc au CCA. Donc c'est ce soir la 3e conférence de notre cycle, si on peut l'appeler comme ça, qui s'appelle « Sur le terrain », Groundwork. C'est un cycle de conférences qui est lié à notre projet du même nom, qui s'appelle « Sur le terrain », qui est composé d'expositions, mais aussi de films documentaires produits par le CCA et qui suivent la pratique d'architecte aujourd'hui face à la crise climatique, mais aussi les pratiques alternatives, une autre façon de faire de l'architecture. Donc c'est ce qu'est ce projet sur le terrain, on suit les architectes sur le terrain. Et la série de conférences suit la même idée, c'est l'idée d'inviter aussi des architectes qui pratiquent l'architecture différemment. Avant de vous introduire donc notre invité de ce soir, donc l'architecte et chercheuse Noelia Monteiro, je tiens à souligner que nous sommes réunis sur un territoire qui n'a jamais été cédé par les populations autochtones et que nous reconnaissons par conséquent les racines coloniales de notre institution. The Ganyengehaga people of Ganawage, Ganasadage, and Aguasasne, along with those of Wendat, Anishinaabe, and Abenaki communities, lived here long before the arrival of settlers and have long-standing connections with Tiohtià:ke, Munyang, Montréal. Still today, the island is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. These communities continue to face challenges to their rights and the erosion of their traditional territories as a result of ongoing processes of settler colonialism. The CCA is committing to fostering affirmative relationships with Indigenous people across the Tiohtià:ke, Munyang, Montréal, and beyond. And we invite you to learn more about our Living Land acknowledgement process and initiatives with visiting our website or by contacting us directly. So now I will introduce you our guest of tonight. So Noelia Monteiro is a founding partner of Estudio Flume. Her professional practice and academic research focus on the development of architectural design as well as social and environmental systems in rural areas. Her studio is based in Sao Paulo with projects spanning various biomes in Brazil. She is actively involved in academic and teaching fields, research studies, and lectures, having spoken at institutions such as MIT, the Order of Architects of Turin, and at l'École nationale supérieure d'architecture de Grenoble, among others. Last year, she was selected for the Moira Jamil Prize for Emerging Architecture, which recognizes architects under 45 who are leading their own practices. This year, Estudio Flume won the Simon Prize curated by the Fundació Mies van der Rohe in Barcelona. She is currently a coordinator and professor at Escola da Cidade in Sao Paulo and is conducting her PhD research at the Technical University of Berlin in Germany, so very international. Tonight, the presentation will be held in English and will be filmed. So la présentation de ce soir aura lieu en anglais et elle sera filmée. On ouvrira une période de questions à la fin de la présentation, so we'll open to a moment. We will have a moment at the end of the presentation for a Q&A. I think I'm done. So feel free to ask questions in English, in French. You said you understand Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, right? Spanish, you're fluent. It's your mother tongue. And then, je vous invite également à revenir, j'ai pas fini, le 19 juin pour le vernissage de notre 3e chapitre, justement, de notre exposition, de notre série sur le terrain, avec l'architecte brésilienne Carla Joaçaba, qui fera aussi une présentation de son travail avec une coopérative agricole indépendante de production de café au Brésil. So please join me in welcoming Noelia Monteiro.
I'm really happy to be here with you. I will show some projects from my office. And I want to start with this sketch. This sketch is from Elga, a colleague from the PhD, because when I was trying to explain what I'm doing, she bring this idea about the level 0, like, with this question that is how to do when we don't have many resources, when we work with almost nothing. This idea, for example, when a community settle in a new land and they find the resources like timber, it could be for a structural solution, but also as an energy, for example, to do fire. So it's something that became from the beginning of our work related with construction, how we use the resources. This is a map of Brazil and the projects that we were working at the office during the last 10 years. We worked in different biomes in this country that has this continental scale. And here I start to, in one exhibition at the Technical University in Berlin, I start to organize the projects of the office. Here I have 9 projects, trying to understand how to do this approach when we work with the communities, like thinking in the geographical conditions, the weather conditions, the local material that we find, also the local techniques, and how all these inputs transform the process, not just during the project, but also during the construction. And with this question that what should the primary action be when starting with almost nothing? Paulo Mendes da Rocha, a famous Brazilian architect, said that we can do a house with whatever material that we have. And this picture that I take in Cana dos Carajás, in Pará State, is a rural camp, this kind of construction that we can find in these areas. And also, the Yanomami constructions are like a shelter that become the house, this communal house. So I will show 3 projects from the office: the boat refuge and Caiçara Kitchen in Zawanum Island, the reference center for Babaçu coconut harvesters in Sumaúma, in Maranhão State, and the refurbishment and extension of the oil factory in Vitória do Mearim. I choose these 3 projects because it's something, there is a gap between anyone with 2 years between them. Also, they have these different construction conditions. For example, the first one, the boat refuge, is we reuse the original structure, the pillars and the bases. The second one is a completely new construction and the refurbishment and extension of one original construction. I will also show a little bit about a project that is going on in this moment, where we work in a different scale from the materials, but also with the landscape. So the boat refuge and Caiçara's kitchen is in Zawanum Island. It's from 20 and 20. This is the island where we work, and this is the community that is a few houses, like less than 50 families living there. So it was the original construction, the existing structure, and it is the space inside that the space was like really low and hot, really bad conditions to work there. Something that we start to think when we become to this place is that the pillars and the bases were really well, so it's something that we could use in the refurbishment, but the height was really low, so the idea was how to have more space reusing the structure. So we work with these models that bring for us a possibility to understand what to do with the structure, but not just during the project, but also during the construction, because what we think before to start the construction doesn't work during the construction, so we use the model in these different moments. So to work with this new roof, we learn with the local community that they know how to work with boats and how to build canoes. So this was during the construction where we soaked the timber, and with that we were able to manipulate, to create this art with the timber. And these are some of the sketches during the construction, because many decisions that are related with the construction become like a part of the process during the construction. For example, the number of tills to have the less overlap between them, also the quantity of timber, all of these things. We work really closely with the carpenters during the construction. These are some of the pictures also in the construction. As the space is to cook, we work with these two layers, with these two panels. One is the bamboo panels that they're open during the day when it's working, and the other one is a facade to maintain this space without insects to work inside. That is how it looks during the day and also during the night. The project has also, it's a really small project, but is working in another scale, thinking how to work with tourists in this island, to connect the community with the tourists and also with the environment. The second project is the reference center for coconut. To work with this project, we worked before with another community. This is in Maranhão state, in the north of Brazil. But before that, we worked with this community that is like 2 hours from the other project that they will show. That was, at this point, this construction was a refurbishment. With these harvesters, we learned a lot about the process to work with these coconuts. To propose these small elements, new elements like these tables and the workspace, we work with the ergonomic, and because they work during many hours working with the same activities. And also in these projects that are workspace, we consider that just with few elements, we can work with this space like a place to connect the community, because this small village doesn't have like cultural spaces or place to meet. So these places that work most women, they become the place to connect and to bring the community together. And this project started also with a research related with the 12th Biennale of Architecture in Sao Paulo, where we had the opportunity to interview the harvesters to understand how is the everyday work, how is the day from the beginning of the day when they start to work, going to the forest and bringing the material to transform in food. So the Babasu Harvester Reference Center became a place where they bring the knowledge that they have, but also a place to work with new programs with the same knowledge and with the same materials that they have. And again, the 3D models become an opportunity to talk with the community, to design together, and to take the decisions together. This is the land for the project that is just there. But I like this video because with that we have an idea, the kind of the construction that we find in this village. They have still a lot of mud house, and they work also with the palm and with the local herd. So we start with this workshop. In these groups, we really like to work with small groups because in that case, everyone has the opportunity to talk, to express the ideas and the wishes related with the project. And in a second workshop, we work with the model because with that we can review and understand what is working, what we need to change to then start with the construction. So this is the kind of local materials that we find here, the mud house, and also the palm that they use in windows and doors. That works really well in these weather conditions. And the community is here, so basically they have two seasons. One that is the dry season, that is during the half of the year, and the other half of the year is the rainy season, where the lake rises. So the community needs to use the boat to go to the city. So we had the challenge to think during the construction how to work when we have this rainy season. So for us, the strategy was like invert the natural order of this construction, that was start with this big roof working like a big umbrella, to have this place to continue working with the construction also during the rainy season. And also working with the carpenters, with the locksmith, we designed the details to understand how to connect the timber, but also maintaining not in contact with the humidity. The models become also a tool, not just working during the project with the community, but also with the carpenters during the construction. So this was the first step to construct this roof. Then we continue with the production of the bricks, with these compact bricks with the soil of this region. That was when it started to rain. And finally, we construct the different spaces. So the roof, in this case, has these two functions. One was for during the construction, but also something that became permanent during the use of the space, having this cross ventilation and this shelter in this weather that is really hot the entire year. When we finished the project, we realized that we exchanged more than 2,000 media files with the constructors, like exchanging information and sharing ideas to become this construction to be possible. This is how they use the space, working together. This is the main activity that they have, that is breaking this coconut to obtain the necklace. And also it's a space that becomes a place to meet with the community. This is the refurbishment and extension of oil factory. We started with this project last year. The site is just in front of the train station. This is the pre-existing structure. And also they have this greenhouse that for them is really important because they can continue working with these nuts also during the period that is raining. So this is the area just in front of the train station. It's a really small space to design this extension of the project. But for them, it's important to maintain the construction in this space because thinking in the commercialization of the products that they work with is really good actually to be in front of the train station. So we start again with these workshops, thinking together and also learning a lot because they have this knowledge about how to work with these programs. And with that, we have the material to start to think in the project. And also the work routine, how they work. The project is just in this stage with the revision of the proposal. In all of these cases, the shelter becomes an opportunity to work when we don't have a lot of resources, no? Because we are working with the space in different scales and also in different conditions. This is something that I think that is interesting to share about method, that is something that we are starting to organize at the office, how is work in this context, like in these different biomas, working in different scales with the landscape, because in these villages or small cities, the communities has this relation with the environment, but also this relation between the communities, working like a network. Also the scale of the space, and also the detail, how is work in these conditions, in these remote areas. The model is always a really important tool for us from the beginning to understand the program, to share the ideas in this communication with the community, and also during the construction, to have these steps organized and maintain all the material related with the project and how the project transformed during the construction. This timeline that I showed before with all these inputs related with the geography, with the weather conditions, the materials, to finally have the material for the construction. But also when we believe that we have the final project, we have the sketch and this communication with the local builders that change some decisions related with the project that have sense in these local realities to finally have the construction. With the Agroforestry and Observatory Center, it's a project that we are working now. It has these two scales that are different for us. The scale related with the material, because we are developing new materials, and also in this work related with the landscape. Nós somos Estudio Flume e atuamos através dos diversos biomas brasileiros com foco em projetos de espaços de trabalho em comunidades. Através de uma metodologia de projeto participativo, buscamos aprimorar as cadeias produtivas das comunidades por meio da arquitetura. Nosso primeiro contato com a comunidade de Apuí foi através de um grant oferecido pela Citaui para a construção de um protótipo no ano de 2022. Através do Jorge Nava, biólogo e técnico especialista em permacultura, tivemos a oportunidade de aprender sobre o contexto dos pequenos agricultores de Apuí e sua história de migração para a região. A rodovia transamazônica atravessa a cidade de Apuí, que está situada no coração da floresta amazônica e no centro da região chamada Arco do Desmatamento, onde esforços para a conservação ambiental são urgentes e necessários. Apuí possui um grupo grande de pequenos agricultores, muitos dos quais são segunda geração de migrantes, que chegaram há mais de 40 anos na região, mas se enfrentam desafios severos, como a erosão e a queda de fertilidade do solo. Estamos em diálogo com um grupo de pequenos agricultores que trabalham na transição de sua agricultura de monocultura, onde fazem apenas o plantio de uma espécie única, como por exemplo a soja, o milho ou o café, para um sistema de plantio variado de agroflorestas com princípios da permacultura. Esses grupos têm adotado técnicas agrícolas mais sustentáveis nas suas próprias terras e atualmente produzem alimentos e fornecem mudas e sementes para o Centro Nacional de Prevenção e Combate aos Incêndios Florestais, Previfogo, ajudando assim a reflorestar áreas devastadas.
As nossas sementes que a gente coleta, elas são especificamente hoje para reflorestamento. Aí, de certa forma, a gente está ajudando a reconstituir, pelo menos minimizar esse problema que é o caso do desmatamento, né?
O grupo atualmente precisa de uma sede, um espaço piloto para demonstrar a capacidade produtiva e regenerativa das técnicas de permacultura aplicadas à produção agroflorestal, bem como um espaço para a troca de conhecimentos, com o objetivo de se fortalecer como grupo e se expandir, incentivando assim novas iniciativas que multipliquem essa prática na região.
Isso aqui eu protejo com unha e dente. Brigo com quem for para defender isso aqui. Gostar dos animais, gostar disso aqui, da natureza, da zoada da água, da cantiga dos pássaros, da zoada da onça, do ronco do capelão, do grito do macaco, da escuridão à noite.
Não tem palavra para mais bonito na floresta. Tudo é bonito.
So, Apuí is located here. It's a city that is in the heart of what we understand in Brazil like the arc of deforestation, that is this area. For that, it's important for us to work in this transition from the monoculture to the agroforestry. During the 70s, during the dictatorial government, this was the kind of publications showing that the Amazon needs to be occupied to protect. Of course, that we know that it was really bad in the history of the last 50 years in Brazil, and has this impact that it's still today. This is Apuí, one pictures from 20 and 25 of this region. The first big construction or infrastructure related with this occupation of the Amazonas during the 70s was the highlight that is the Transamazonica. With this land in Apuí, we are working in these different layers, organizing like a macro plan, working with the permaculture to have the main construction that is this center to show the possibilities related with this transition from the monoculture to the agroforestry, working with production to have the incomes for the community like in a short period, but also working with other species in different layers that become this agroforestry during the next years. So we start with this first step, working with the community in this reforestation, but also with the possibility to produce plants to reforestation, not just for have the incomes, but in any case, the native plants also bring the opportunity to have incomes because the PREVIFOP, that is this organization, this governmental organization that work in this area, doesn't have the quantity of plants that they need to reforestation. And this other scale that we are testing now is working with developing material with natural fibers that are the bamboo fiber, the sugar cane, and the acai fiber. So the idea is to develop this material with the waste, the part of the plants that the local community doesn't use, and become a new material that can be part of the constructions. So in this case, we are working with the acai fiber. This is the way that the harvesters collect the acai, it has a really low impact in the forest. And these are the first testing related with the material. In these two exhibitions that connect the ideas that we are working at the office, we talk about the things that we understand that are important when we think in construction and when we think in architectural stuff. So at the everyday exposition, that was what I showed working with the harvesters, we made this question that is how much does it cost to preserve the forest? And now we have this exhibition that started last week in Versailles for the Biennale of the Architectural Landscape, where we made this question that is how to build a tree. I will show this video that is about the harvesters. I really like this video because it's about the post-occupation and it's more about people, not a lot about the space. How was for them the process to design together a project and how is for them to work today there.
Minha primeira agitação de coco que eu fui pro mato, eu saí fugida de casa, acho que eu tinha uma faixa de 6, 7 anos, por aí assim. E aí eu e minha coleguinha decidimos ir juntar coco. Minha mãe já estava pro mato. Aí saiu nós duas procurando coco. Aí teve uma solta que pegou fogo, né? Tinha muita fumaça dentro da solta. Ficamos perdidas lá e o pessoal que estava em casa começaram a procurar a gente, né? Quando acharam, era por volta de 1h da tarde já. Aí daí em diante, a minha mãe perguntou, tu quer juntar coco? Quer quebrar coco? Então bora. Aí ela botava aquele machadinho ali pra mim e eu ficava quebrando coco lá com ela. E de tarde a gente vinha vender o coco para comprar as alimentações de casa que faltava. E era o coco na época que era o refúgio das mulheres, muitas mulheres daqui mesmo, era o coco que era o refúgio.
Aí eu via minha mãe, né, quebrando. Aí eu pegava o manchado e ia também. Ela rachava as banas do coco e ia me dando. Eu ia tirando aqueles carocinhos. Aí até que eu aprendi a quebrar coco. Vem das nossas mães, dos nossos avós, né? Aí eu aprendi, gosto demais de quebrar coco. O dia que eu não posso ir no mato eu fico tão triste. Eu disse, meu Deus, mas é do jeito que o senhor quer.
Do babaçu a gente aproveita a amêndoa, a casca para o carvão, o mesocarpo, né, para fazer o bolo, fazer a nossa farinha. E a amêndoa a gente faz o azeite, que é mais o leite, né, que a gente aproveita o leite de coco. Então é uma riqueza para a gente. Hoje, que nem as meninas falam que esse é nosso ouro marrom, nossa riqueza, né?
Aí fica sequinho. Então deixa só enxugar, ele secar um pouquinho para poder tirar daqui. Porque senão não rende no quilo. Dá pouco. De cima uma pro Japão, tem um grupo de mulher. Elas estão fazendo sucesso no mundo inteiro. Já passaram na televisão e davam pra Rio de Janeiro. Hoje já passaram na televisão e davam pra Rio de Janeiro.
Como a gente começou, a gente era um grupo tão grande demais. Hoje nós estamos 25 aqui dentro do núcleo, mas só que a gente é 43 mulheres quebradeiras de coco. Aí veio a oficina que era para a gente desenhar, botar no papel a ideia que a gente queria. Aí veio, a gente foi botar lá no papel tudinho, passo a passo, como a gente queria, idealizou o núcleo.
Aí fechamos os olhos, imagina como é que vocês querem essa casa. Aí todo mundo deu sua opinião e falou o que tinha imaginado, essa imaginação.
Aí começaram a elaborar, né, para o projeto do núcleo. Quando eu vi a maquete de cara, eu disse, meu Deus, tá aqui cada pedacinho da gente.
Coisa não é assim que nem vocês têm. Daqui é só arrumar a casa de aprender, né?
Essa é uma mistura de barro com cimento, né, um tijolo ecológico. Foi feito mesmo aqui.
A mulher, quando ela não é independente, ela tem os filhos dela, é casada, lógico, tem os seus filhos, e vive dependente ali, financeiramente, de tudo. Já nós, não, nós dependemos do companheiro, sim, né? Mas nós também temos a nossa independência.
Já tinha aquele, da onde elas tiraram o sustento delas, né? Então isso daí trouxe uma independência para elas. Tornou elas donas de si mesmas. Quer dizer, hoje eu não aceito ninguém me dizer o que eu tenho que fazer. Eu vou lá e faço. E a maioria das mulheres são assim.
Meu filho, eu me acho melhor juntando coco, quebrando, do que em casa só sentado e escutando balera de aqui e acolá. Aí eu vivo na profissão do coco. A gente acha bom, se a gente ir com as amigas da gente, a gente deslorosa para umas ou outras, ninguém se zanga com ninguém. E assim, a gente não acha jeito de ficar em casa.
Só não me bota nem no livro nem na exposição.
Aí, quando a gente está aqui, a gente trabalha, a gente faz a comida, todo mundo se ajunta, come. Aí deixa as coisinhas como a gente deixa, né? A senhora tá vendo aqui como foi que eu fiz, né? Limpei, varri, molhei tudinho, que eu acho as coisas muito bonitas, é limpa, né? Eu gosto das coisas bonitas. Então é assim, mulher, acho muito bom, sinceramente. Eu já tenho até ciúme daqui o dia que eu não venho. É igual uma casa da gente. Eu amo demais aqui esse lugar, demais mesmo.
Ei, não derruba essas palmeiras.
Ei, não devora os palmeirais. Tu já sabes que não podes derrubar. Precisamos preservar riquezas naturais. Tu já sabes que não podes derrubar. Precisamos preservar riquezas naturais.
O coco é para nós grande riqueza, é obra da natureza, ninguém vai dizer que não.
Porque da palha se faz casa pra morar, é um meio de ajudar a maior população.
Well, is that? Thank you.
I was wondering, because I saw a documentary from archaeology in the Amazon, and they proved that before the arrival of European, there were lots of people living they create their own little hill, living at the top, planting fruit trees and things like that. And after the annual flood, they take care. So was that inspired by those research?
Yeah, well, as we know, nowadays we know that the forest was built, no? Like, it's not a soil that is fertile forever if we take the trees and everything of that. So for that, now we are focused in this last project that I show, working in this transition to recover the forest, the native forest. Of course, it's not the native because it's not the first action. It's rebuild this forest, rebuild this fertile soil, and at the same time, working with the local community, working with people that live here, we find this connection that if we can give them the opportunity to maintain the tradition, maintain their production in this relation that they have that is really low profile related with the forest, is the way also to preserve the forest. No.
I was in Brazil near São Paulo, the province, but closer to Rio de Janeiro, and I tried to make a fire, and it was so difficult. It's like Canada. It's so easy to make a fire.
Yeah.
And there is so I really appreciate, how difficult it is to advance, because it's exponentially another level entirely. So where is this region?
So the project, as if you travel to Rio de Janeiro, probably is close of one of the projects that I show. The first one, this project in Zaguanum Island, is in the south of the Rio de Janeiro state.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a couple of hours of Rio de Janeiro city. The second and the third projects are from Maranhão state, that is in the north of Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one that we are working now, we didn't start yet with the architectural design because we are in this research stage. But this is in the Amazon, like in the center of the country.
Thank you very much for the presentation and showing how important it is to create research on with your clients and what their requirements are for your architecture project. So I was interested in the Agroforestry and Observatory Center that you're in the process of conceptualizing. And I wanted to know like what materials, what are the requirements of the client? Like what are they looking for? And what materials do you think you're going to work with as you develop and construct this project?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the question. We are working with different insights, of course, as any project, we really look to work with the local materials, the materials that we find close to the construction site. It's related with what we have there, what the community know, related with the technical conditions. Also thinking in the maintenance of the project, and also thinking in the carbon emission, because in some projects, for example, in the project that is in the Yaguanuma Island, we have this roof, this translucent roof. The first idea was work with palm here, but when we start to interview the community, they say, yeah, the kiosks that have palms bring these palms from the Bahia State. Bahia State is 2,000 kilometers of this island. So at this point, we realize that sometimes we have this view of this idea that something is the best option for this region, but actually it could be a romantic idea, like say, this is the best that we have in this environment, but sometimes the material comes from really far of this side. So in the case of the Apuí, in the agroforestry, we will work with timber that we have here, that is collected, is in a secure relation with the environment, that is take for the community that has the permission to collect the timber. So this is the idea for the structure. But for the facade, we are developing this material with the fiber, because is what we think that the way that we need to look from now to the future, that is working with non-timber forest resources. That is what we can take from the forest that is a waste for the community, because they don't use this part of the tree, but without cut the tree. So this is the focus, thinking in the facade for the project.
I was wondering how long it took approximately to make a project with the research, co-creation, and co-construction phase, and as well if you can tell us how there are finance, like how you can pay to construct this, and basically that.
Well, thanks for the questions. In general, it takes between something like 2 years thinking the development of the project from the first moments that we connect with the community and we start to understand, because actually we really learn a lot with them. They know, they have the knowledge, they have the tradition about how to work with these materials. So any project has a different program, and we learn with them how something that becomes like a natural resource is transformed in food or something related with food in general. So we have this first month to learn with them and to start to design together, thinking this program. We always work in a really open communication about the resource that we have, the the budget for the project. So the decisions are like part of this workshop that, okay, we have this budget, what we can do with that, what is the priority in the program, and also thinking together how the project could grow during the years, because we can design a project that maybe we have the budget for the first construction, but we have a plan also for the next years. Then when we finish these revisions together with the communities, we work with the engineers to design the entire project, to have the drawing and everything for the construction. And in general, the construction, as the projects are really small, thinking they have a scale that maybe in other conditions could be easier or faster, but working in these remote areas, it takes longer sometimes, like something between 6 and 8 months for have the construction, the final construction. And for that, I say that I like to show we have all other projects also, but this gap between one of and the other project that is more or less 2 years is a period that where we understand we can incorporate a lot of knowledge that become a tool also for the next one, for the next project. About the resource for this construction in general, we work mostly with institutions and foundations that work with social and environmental projects. So in general, we have a specific community and a specific construction to work with related with these resources. But also, as we connect with the communities, working with them, we have this like network with different communities around Brazil that they become like friends and partners, and we maintain contact with them. We are also looking for contests or grants that match with some of these projects. So for some of these projects, for example, that we construct one part of the project, when we find a grant for a foundation or another institution that has an open call to apply, we apply to continue working with them.
You actually just answered the question I had for you.
But we can talk more about it.
But you could maybe, she has more to say, I'm sure. So yes, it was a business development question for your practice, of course, and I'm very curious to know how procurement for these lovely, wonderful, heartwarming projects happens in Brazil.
I think that it's really important to talk about that, because I think that in general, when we think in these kind of projects that are working with the community, at least in the architectural field, we have maybe this idea that these projects are voluntary because are for the community, but actually it's a lot of work, and there are many institutions that are that has this same connection and interest to preserve the traditions, the local communities, the environment, and to connect all these elements. So, and it takes a lot of work to do that. No, when I made this question that how to build when we have almost nothing, is something that we can think in construction in general, because we know maybe when I was a student, it's something that we didn't have this conscience at this point, like maybe 20 years ago, like this masterpiece of architectural projects, like without limits. And now we understand that the resources are few, and most of them are not renewable. Also, the renewable materials, they take many years to grow again. So it's not just working with the communities, but this question is, at least I think for the new generations, is how to do with less, what we can do with the things that we have, at least also with the exposition that is right now that showing in Berlin, that there are many buildings that they are in this place. They have minerals and resources that become a building. So we have to, the first thing that we have to do is think what we can do with these resources that are there. So yeah, and the rest is what we say before.
Boa noite. Vou fazer a pergunta em inglês mesmo, mas parabéns pelo projeto. Muito bom.
Obrigada.
The question I have has to do with transfer of knowledge. One of the things I've seen in Brazil over the years is that there is so many international organizations that are concerned about the rainforest and the Brazilian rainforest, and unfortunately, as you saw on many governments, especially in the Bolsonaro government, the deforestation was so tremendous that you set back like decades of conservatism. So this is like a very, and not to play the devil's advocate, but this is like a drop in the bucket, and it's a wonderful effort that you guys are doing. The question that I have, first one that you've answered, but I wasn't very clear in terms of procurement, if you get any Brazilian government grants that help you out there to continue building these projects, given that for what I saw in the video, it seems like there's a lot of infrastructure, the streets, electricity and whatnot. It seems like they are pretty well set up. And to me, it didn't seem like very traditional rainforest or people in the forest out there, like in the middle of nowhere. I'm sure there is out there that would need like help, and it's great to have these people be able to stay where they are and not being displaced by this deforestation, because once they are like allocated there and they are put with infrastructure, it's very hard to destroy because they're somehow watchers of this environment. So I guess my question with this statement has to do with what does your organization do, or like whatever architectural foundation that you belong to, in terms of being able to transfer some of this knowledge to the local communities in terms of you came, you built, you left. Can they continue, they have the ability to replicate this project over and over again to continue growing and be able to use whatever resources they have at their disposal to continue grow this sort of project by themselves? And that's one thing that it's a question kind of a devil's advocate as well, but I think that many organizations fail to do so. But I take my question off the air, and parabéns pelo projeto de novo, apaixonado pelo Brasil.
Well, is that actually I didn't show here some of this experience about how, or at least what we try with this project that are small, but we think that they have a bigger impact related with the constructive methods that the project has. That is, in all of these projects, when we say that we work with the local carpenters and the local builders, we change many decisions related with the original project, because some things that we design doesn't have sense in this context, no? We learn a lot also with the local constructors because they have a way to do things. So, and also in most of these projects, we don't have the infrastructure, for example, to collect the water and also to clean the waste from the construction. So, for example, for that we work a lot with these permacultural techniques. For example, in all of these projects, we process the gray water with the banana circle, that is a permaculture technique, to clean the water out of the construction. And this is, for example, a technique that doesn't cost nothing. It's just a technique about how to process the water in the land. So this part of the construction, we work together with the community, and in general, they are able to reply these techniques in their houses, no? And in some point, also the selection of the materials are related with this idea of empower the tradition that they have. For example, the mud house. In general, when we start a project that has an external budget to work with, the community prefer to work with industrial materials because it's something that become from other place, the budget, and for them it's an opportunity to have something that maybe they look in the television or something, say, okay, it's an opportunity to have a project with industrial materials, and they don't want to have the mud house because the mud house need maintenance. They need every year to work in the walls to maintain there. So these negotiations, like for example, okay, we can use the earth, the local soil, but with these compressed bricks. So it's a way to bring value to the material that they have, but applying another technique. And then they stay like really proud about that because they know that they can have something that they can apply again in the constructions, reusing the material that they have, but in another way. So it's more or less that.
I mean, it's not actually a question. Yeah, just, hey Noelia, thank you very much for your presentation. I am Brazilian, and not only a Brazilian, but I am a Brazilian from the north and the northeast part. So this content of your northeast, yeah. My family is from the state of Piauí and Maranhão, which is one of your projects.
Yeah.
So it's mostly to state. Oh, first, I have to disagree about the seasons. I used to say for my Canadian friends that we have actually the 4 seasons, like hot, very hot, burning, and hell. So it's not only wet and the cold and the dry season. Okay, going back to the project, it's just to state how happy I am about this new, how can I say, this new architecture thing, this new way that architectures includes the thinking about the earth, the thinking about the environment, the communities, the First Nations. And I have been like spending my whole life in those kind of projects that it's not really sustainable. And I'm really happy to see those kind of projects. If you need any supporters in the place in the northeast of the region, you can count on me. I'm not an architect, I am a graphic designer, but I'm really an enthusiast of architecture, and maybe one day I will be one. Yeah. So thank you very much for all the content, especially the documentaries. It was kind of a revival for me, and to to see to revisit the culture. Thank you, and I hope you the best for your projects.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.